Hey everybody, it's TR. Today, I'm just going to do some talking, discussion. What I came up with for today is, they tell you, don't meet your heroes, you'll be disappointed. And I know the internet is full of stories and cases of that being true, but it's not always true. And that's what I want to talk about today. So, I live in a very isolated rural area. Chances to run into famous people are few and far between up here. So I don't have many stories. When I was 12 years old, I was at a baseball game and I got Bobby Mercer's autograph. I handed him the program, signed it, handed it back to me, and I said, thank you. And that was that transaction. A girl that I used to work with a bunch of years back, for her husband's birthday, she bought them tickets to see Five Finger Death Punch. She bought the VIP package. $500 a ticket. They got their little backstage pass things or whatever, and afterwards she was pretty unhappy. Basically, they got everybody that had paid in a big line, handed them their little bag of crap that they got with their VIP ticket, rushed them through as they stood there for a second, got a picture taken, and moved along. She said nobody in the band even said anything, didn't grunt, didn't fart. Ching. Okay. And as I said, the internet is full of these kind of stories. Well, I've got a different story for you, okay? Anybody that knows me knows I am a giant Blue Oyster Cult fan. Have been for quite a while. Anyhow, when I became a fan of the band, I didn't really know anything about them. I just knew I liked their music. And as you do with entertainers, musicians, whatever, things that you like, you read and you find things out. Well, lo and behold, I find out that this band had started at Clarkson College, sort of. When Albert Bouchard met Donald Roser, later to be known as Buck Dharma, and they had a band, I believe the name was Travesty, over at Clarkson in around 1965-ish. And I thought, how cool, because I went to Clarkson College for a little while before I dropped out, which coincidentally is also what they did. I dropped out because I was 17 years old and shouldn't have been in college yet. But that's another story for another day. They dropped out to go be rock stars. Ha ha, joke's on everybody else, right? So anyhow, I found that out and I thought that was just amazing. Then I find out that two of the founding members, Albert and Joe Bouchard, are local from like a half hour that way from where I'm sitting right now. And I thought, well, isn't that amazing? So I was just as pleased as punch to find that out. Well, fast forward many years, Joe and Albert are no longer in BOC. They're doing other things. And I find out that they have a band with Dennis Dunaway, the original bass player, founding member of the Alice Cooper group. And yes, Alice Cooper originally was the name of a band, not a person, and it was a total band effort. Another story. So Joe, although he played bass in Blue Oyster Cult, was primarily a guitarist, but he's a music teacher. Al's a music teacher too, by the way, that came down the road. But Joe was a music teacher. So BOC needed a bass player. Joe played bass. That's probably part of the reason why those bass lines are so great, because he was giving the songs what they needed. And for those of you who don't know it, Albert was the drummer of BOC, but he also is accomplished at guitar, piano, many instruments. And Al and Joe, if you do the math, which I did while they were with BOC, wrote approximately 80% of the songs for BOC. They were a driving force. Anyways, back to my story about meeting your heroes. I think you see where I'm going here. So, I became aware that this band Blue Coupe existed, and this was probably about 2010. And my son and I, and son of a friend, and one of my kids' high school friends, what a mix, huh? Had a little group we were putting together, playing some classic rock music. And Blue Coupe had what was an amazing song, got nominated for a Grammy, I'm pretty sure, called You Like Vampires, written by a gentleman that's also from up here. It was boyhood friend of Al and Joe on their cottage on Wellesley Island on the St. Lawrence River here. So I happened to notice that on Al's website there was an email address, and I didn't really know John Elwood Cook had written the song. I thought they wrote the song. I said, gee, our band would like to cover that song. Would that be okay? And I got an email back, much to my surprise, and Al said, go ahead, I don't care. Well, our drummer at the time, Tommy, had an issue. He had, I think it was his right hand, he had completely severed it in a construction accident, and it had been reattached. He had limited movement. And my son and I ended up doing a video with a drum machine, not of You Like Vampires, but of a Blue Oyster Cult song, Tattoo Vampire. Smile with a tattoo madam. Anyhow, and I made a YouTube page because we were getting things ready for our band. That's where my YouTube channel came from. Wicked Fester is the name of our band. And the Wicked Fester is a play on words. Kiss, which is a story for another day too, talking about don't meet your heroes. I've never met them, but from what I understand, I don't want to. Anyhow, we're originally called Wicked Lester. And our drummer Tommy had this festering wound in his hand, and my son laughed and said we should call the band Wicked Fester. We did. The rest is history. I remain. Anyhow, so we sent that and explained about Tommy's difficulties with his hand and everything. Got another email back from Al, totally nice and kind, and offering advice about him playing with his hand injury and stuff. And shortly after that, Tommy passed. Tommy had a history of substance problems, and he was young. He was probably 36 years old at the time. So this was, like I said, 2010. It was quite a while ago. He's probably about 36 years old at the time. So anyways, I mentioned that and got, condolences from Al, sorry for your loss, all of that. And I thought, how cool is this? I am communicating via email with one of my heroes, and he is actually being very nice to me. So Blue Coupe had a gig booked at a place near here called Sackett's Harbor. It's called the Made in New York Festival. And of course, I got tickets. And my wife and my daughter, who's a teacher, came along with us, and we went to see them. And there's Al just hanging out. I mean, the security wasn't like super big or anything. They had like a little security fence, and he's kind of over by the security fence, hanging out, checking out Lake Ontario and stuff, and enjoying the breeze. It was a warm day. And my daughter said, "Well, you're going up to talk to him?" Well, I was scared shitless. I'm like, no way. She's like, yeah, you need to go talk to him. So she drugged me up there. She introduced me. I said hi, let them know who I was, and I was truly scared shitless. I was tongue-tied, couldn't even talk. And that was that. And lo and behold, I didn't know anything about YouTube at the time. I had just done that to put the video up. I have 1 subscriber. Guess who it is? My first subscriber. Beat that, everybody, for your first subscriber, right? So, down the road a little bit, as I'm doing YouTube things, I've noticed every now and then I'll get a comment from them on something, and I'm thinking, how cool is this? My videos were bad. The lighting was bad. The sound was bad. Well, Al had started a YouTube channel called Most Cowbell, because obviously he was the percussionist in Blue Oyster Cult. He played the cowbell. And by the way, please check that out. You won't be sorry. It is very, very entertaining. And you'll get a chance to interact with one of the greats. He's also, he's a busy guy. He's playing drums with the Dictators. He's doing projects with his Imaginos band. He's got he produces for people. He's got a million things going. And he's in his 70s. He's just amazing. So anyways, comments back and forth on YouTube, and I can't remember, I think it might have been a private message he sent me on Facebook saying, you know, everybody's telling you your stuff's great. He's like, it's not, it stinks, it sounds horrible, you need to do something different with the sound, you need to look into going direct. He gave me some examples and stuff. So it's like, you know what, I guess I need to do that. So I did. I upped my game as far as sound quality goes, and I got some lighting and did some things, and I got positive feedback saying, yeah, that's a lot better, you did a good job. And I was just as pleased as punch. Well, since Al and Joe are the oldest of a large family, many children, they still have family up here, and they still have that cottage over here on Wellesley Island. And they come up often in the summer, and what they would end up doing is a lot of times playing a gig while they're up here, and they would bring Dennis and do Blue Coop gigs. And I mean, if you just want to hear some, they did 3 original albums. They have really good material they did there, but also Blue Oyster Cult and Alice Cooper songs, and just the energy, because they're doing it because they love it. Okay, so they came up for one of their trips up here, and they were playing up the road this way in Ogdensburg, which is where the hospital that I used to work at is, that I retired from. So naturally, I have to go. And Al saw me, came over, and there was some issues going on with the sound system or whatever, and we were waiting for like one of the opening acts or whatever to play. So long story short, he hung out with my wife and my son and I for like an hour, and got to ask him every question and anything I had ever wanted to, and had a great visit, and continued to, you know, give me feedback on my YouTube and stuff. Even mentioned me in one of his Most Cowbell episodes. I was totally blown away by that and flattered. And then a couple of years ago with his Imaginos band, he was in his hometown of Clayton, which is just straight up the highway here from where I am. And my wife and I showed up and took our little seats. We didn't want to bother him because they were getting set up to play and stuff. And he come over and said, "Hey, Terry, how you doing?" And we had a nice little visit, and we enjoyed the show. He sicked his cousin Teddy on me, who was in their boyhood band and is a guitar freak. And he said, "So I understand you got a lot of guitars." So I sat with cousin Teddy while we did the show, and after the show had another nice visit. And yeah, they say don't meet your heroes, you'll be disappointed. Well, I'm here to tell you, I met mine, and he's the greatest guy in the world. I'm better for it. And yeah, check out Most Cowbell. I'll leave you a link. Yeah, I just wanted to share this. So, you know, stick yourself out there. If you get the chance to meet somebody that's one of your heroes, they may be a jerk and they may be mean to you. I'm fortunate that was not my case. Oh, And I've got to add too, I'm Facebook friends with Joe, and I mean, to get likes on pictures of your grandkids and your vacations and comments and things from people that were your heroes when you were growing up, it don't get no better than that. You guys have a good day.